Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kallipolis Radio. I'm here, and y'all are there. That's a deep-cut Chris Chan reference for anyone who gets that. I have way too much internet knowledge in my brain. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Today, we're doing something a little bit different than usual. As you can probably tell by the title, and by the fact I'm sitting here in my recording studio and not reading you a book, we're going to do something a little bit different today. So, because I have read essentially all of H.P. Lovecraft stories, as you can see here, and you can go check out the playlist afterwards if you feel like it. Because I've read them all, I was thinking today I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different and talk about H.P. Lovecraft himself, and kind of give my thoughts and opinions and my review of his works. So, that's what we're going to be doing today. There's a motorcycle in the background. I don't know if you can hear that. As you see in the title, I've read everything that Lovecraft has written, story-wise. He did write a number of letters and some poetry that I haven't read. But as far as stories go, I have read them all. Now, for the knowledgeable literary folk out there, you may be saying, but Rylan, that's 60 stories there, and he wrote more than that. You'd be correct. He did write some more. He wrote some when he was a child, I believe beginning at about age 13. And there are 3 stories that he wrote later in life that are very long that I have not done. Those being The Mountains of Madness, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, and the third one about the murder mystery thing, whose name I cannot remember, but I'm going to add it onto this little space right next to me. So, I haven't read those, and you might be asking why. Well, I've read them. I just haven't read them on the channel. Now, for those 3, they're quite long. The shortest one is at least 10,000 words longer than Shadow over Innsmouth, which is the longest Lovecraft one I've done on the channel so far. And so for these ones, now that the quality of the channel has improved a little bit, then I want to save those for more of a special occasion, get some voice actors, do some really nice editing on those, put those up at another date when I can put a lot more effort into making them. So, let's get to the main point. I've read all of Lovecraft. Should you? I'm going to answer that in 3 parts. So, first of all, I want to let you know what I consider to be a good piece of writing, or a good book, a good story. It doesn't even have to be a story. A good piece of writing in any sense. Now, for me, that has 3 criteria. Number 1 is, do I remember it? If I read something and it doesn't stick with me, it loses some points. Number 2, does it make me feel something? That can be, does it make me laugh? Does it make me sad? Does it make me happy? Does it make me blah, 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 this, that, the other? Tons of emotions out there. Does it make me feel something? Lastly, and finally, the third category is it well written? And this one's very subjective. People like different writing styles. I tend to like writing styles with a lot more description, that tend to be a lot longer, more verbose. My favorite novel of all time that for me hits all 3 of these is The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. It's my favorite novel. It's great. If you haven't read it, you should. I won't read it on the channel because it's like 1,300 pages long, so you have to live without that. Another piece of fiction, however, that I really like, that only hits 2 of these, is My Immortal, which is a piece of Harry Potter vampire fan fiction. Is it well written? No. God, it's awfully written. Spelling mistakes everywhere, terrible grammar, terrible everything. But it makes me laugh a lot. And I remember it very, very well. So, is it a good piece of fiction? Is it a good story? Yes. But not because it's well written. So, now that you know what my criteria are and 2 of my favorite works that kind of occupy different ends of the spectrum, let's talk about Lovecraft. So, I'm going to start with point number 3. Is it well written? Yes. Lovecraft is a great writer. Second point. Do I remember it? And I have in front of me here the list of all the ones that I've read on the channel. Now, it's been a couple months since I've done any Lovecraft for the channel, so I'm just going to go down a couple of these ones here and tell you if I can remember anything about it. So, the most popular H.P. Lovecraft piece on the channel is The Curse of Yig. That one, I remember. It's about snake monsters, sort of. Now, the part from this I remember is one particular scene where So, 100%, that one is memorable. Pickman's Model. That one, yes, it's about the crazy artist who can paint. Don't remember much else from that. The Mound. That was very long. That's 3 hours and 17 minutes. Now, The Mound is about a hill with a ghost on it and a city underground. I remember it being a very long story. The Haunter of the Dark. That one, I am confusing, I think, with a different story that has a somewhat similar name, but I could not tell you what that one's about, because that's not the one in the church. Nope, don't remember. Music of Eric Zahn, very good. I remember. And then the house that it happened in goes completely missing. It's a very good one. The Festival, no idea. The Alchemist, couldn't tell you. Dreams in the Witch House, I think I know which one that is. I think that's the one with the flamethrower. Don't know. The Very Old Folk, no idea. Picture in the House, couldn't tell you. The Horror at Red Hook. This one is very memorable because the whole crux of the story is that immigrants are scary. So I remember this one being, of course, well written. It's kind of stupid in premise and memorable because it was so odd. The Tree, The Nameless City, The Tomb, Don't Know, The Other Gods, The White Ship, Rats in the Walls. Rats in the Walls, again, I remember that because it employs very frequent use of the N-word. Let's see. The Color Out of Space. Classic H.P. Lovecraft. That one is very cool, very memorable, because it talks about an indescribable color. That's cool. Cats of Ulthar. H.P. Lovecraft really liked cats. This one's a story about a town where they kill a cat, and then I believe the cats punish the town by killing everyone? Something like that? Or they kill a dude who killed a cat. Something along those lines. Kind of a cool story. Strange High House in the Mist. That one, remember. Not scary, very descriptive, good. Lurking Fear, no idea. From Beyond, couldn't tell you. Facts concerning the late Arthur German. I remember that one because the title was so long, don't remember anything else. Quest of Iranon, couldn't tell you. Thing on the Doorstep, I think it's a baby. Dunwich Horror, yes. Again, that's one of his classics. Who doesn't remember the Dunwich Horror? Cool Air, fantastic Lovecraft story, because it is, again, much like the Horror of Red Hook, very funny. It's kind of a horror story based on the crux of and as I scroll down this, I couldn't tell you really what I remember about any else of these. Don't know. So, do I remember it? Some of it. Not all of it. Can't remember 60 stories, especially over the course of a year. But the good ones, they stick with you. So, to get on to the final section, do I feel something? That's a good question. So, one thing to keep in mind is I'm not necessarily talking about horror. Obviously, H.P. Lovecraft was a horror writer. Personally, I don't find horror literature scary. None of his stories ever really made me feel scared. They did at times make me feel creeped out or uncomfortable or slightly bothered by something. Again, because he's very descriptive and very good, but I would never say I was scared by anything he wrote. So, if you're a horror writer, he was one of the first. Maybe that's a thing. And that's something I want to talk about, because I touched on it a little bit in the last section with two of his stories, Horror at Red Hook and Cool Air. Things that are scary for him are not necessarily scary for us. For him, a lot of what was scary was new technology, advancing sciences, the world changing in very rapid ways that not a lot of people understood. Centuries of doing things the same way was being overturned. There were new immigrants coming to a country that obviously scared him a lot. So a lot of the horror in his story comes from the unknown ramifications of science and progress, which to us is not really something that scares us as much. If I had to say what it seems like the scariest things are for us in the current zeitgeist, I would say most horror seems to focus on home invasions and serial killers. Seem to be the crux of what we are scared of nowadays. And if you are in the creepypasta community at all, than fucking 8,000 billion different versions of I started the job at new place and there was a list of 10 weird rules. There's probably about 400 thumbnails on the screen right now of examples of this. I don't know why it's so popular. They are everywhere. None are scary. All are poorly written. I don't know what to say. That's all. So, in conclusion, should you read all of Lovecraft? No, you shouldn't. You should read some. And here's what I'd like you to do. If you haven't already listened to all of these 60 videos, wait. I'm going to give you 5 that you should read first. And if you like these 5, then you should read them all. Or listen to them. You know, some people don't like audiobooks. Whatever. That's fine. I won't hold it against you. Even though I make audiobooks, I don't like audiobooks. I like reading things in front of my face in books. I don't even like ebooks. No Kindle, nothing for me. Physical books. I don't even have any around me. There's one over there, but it's too far away to reach. So I'm going to give you 5. And I'm going to give you my reasons why I think these ones are really good. Then I would encourage you to go read these ones. And if you like these 5, then I would say, yes, you should go read all of Lovecraft because you will gain something from it. But if you read these 5 and you maybe like 1 or 2, I don't know, maybe just read his most popular stuff. Don't waste your time with all 60 plus stories, because if you only like 1 or 2 of the ones I'm going to recommend to you, this is not for you. It's a waste of time to spend your time doing something else, or listen to these when you fall asleep and you're not paying attention to me. You're just hearing my voice in the background. That's fine. So number 1, Shadow over Innsmouth. It's memorable. Once you read this, you will not forget it, because you've probably seen a bunch of media that is inspired by it already. It's very famous. A lot of people remember it. A lot of people like it. Not saying popularity is going to prove that it's good, but it's an indicator. 2, the music of Eric Zahn. I mentioned this one. It's very short and it's very good. Lovecraft, sweet and to the point. He's got the good writing style that mixes in very well with the short story that he tells very quickly. It's very memorable, especially the scene with the violin playing. And it makes you feel, again, on edge and just somewhat bothered. Doesn't scare you, but it makes you unsettled. Or at least it does for me. That's number 2. Number 3. Number 3 is The Color Out of Space. It's great. It's a classic. There's a bunch of stuff that's been inspired by it. 4, Cool Air. Now, I know I've mentioned this story at least like 3 times already, but it is good. It's well written. It is funny. It will probably make you laugh when you figure out what exactly is going on and what the horror is supposed to be in the story. It's well written. It's memorable because it's very funny, although it wasn't intended to be funny, which in a way makes it even more funny. This one's great. If not, number 4, put it at the top of the list. Read it first. Read it second. You know, get a taste for his seriousness, and then read this one, and then those other 2. And then the 5th one, the final one, you should read, drumroll please, The White Ship. This one, probably not a lot of people have heard of this one, because it's not a horror story. It's one of his dream cycle stories. Yes, that's right. There were ones that Lovecraft wrote that were not horror. They were part of his dream cycle, and they were based on his dreams. And this one is actually very nice. It's a very sweet story. It's kind of sad at the end, even. It definitely makes you feel something. Because, again, it's very beautifully written, and it's kind of sad. A little bit depressing. And you remember it, because you remember the white ship. You remember it because of the name, and you remember because of how he describes it and what happens. I'm not going to spoil it for you. There's no plot, really. A lot of his dream cycle stuff does not have plots. It's just based on dreams. So nothing really happens, but it's beautiful. You can listen to it right there, or you can go read it for yourself. Just look it up, free PDF. You will find it immediately. It's a good one. So, in conclusion, take these 5. Go read them. If you don't like them, if you don't like all of them, don't bother with the rest of his stuff. If you like these 5, read all of it. All 60 plus stories. I 100% recommend it to you, because these cover the range of things you will remember, emotions you will feel, and the different way his writing comes across. I think these 5 are a great spread to cover all of the types of things he writes, aside from the poetry and the letters. These cover his stories so well that if you like these 5, you're probably going to get something from all of them. Now, I know some of you are saying, why didn't I put his 3 most famous ones on this list? I put Shadow over Innsmouth and The Color Out of Space. Those are famous. But what about the Dunwich Horror? Well, that one's kind of covered by Shadow over Innsmouth. They're very similar. And I think Shadow over Innsmouth is better. But I know you're also saying, what about his 3 long ones? The 3 long ones you talked about at the beginning of the video. They were too long. Could have been shorter. I'm going to cut this out. Going insane. I never want to discourage anyone from reading. You should read. Reading is good. If you're reading something that you enjoy. Will everyone enjoy Lovecraft? No. If you don't like it, don't read it. Simple as that. If you don't like a TV show, don't watch it. If you don't like a book, don't read it. But if you want to get into H.P. Lovecraft, start with one of these. If you like it, keep going. And when you stop liking it, stop going. Try something else. That's the whole point. Lovecraft, he lived many, many years ago. He was, probably by our modern standards, a not very nice person. He was quite racist, even for his time. And all I'm thinking of now is the fish fillet story 4chan posts, which is probably on the screen next to me right now. I won't read that for you, but this kind of feels like Lovecraft in a lot of cases. It's not wrong. Now I'm just thinking about all the things that I've read in H.P. Lovecraft stories. I'm going to cut up most of this. He was a good writer. A lot of things he has said and depicted and made me imagine have stuck in my brain for months and months and months. There's one story that I didn't even mention called A Very Old Man, or The Old Man in the Cursed House, something. It'll be on the screen here with whatever the correct title is. This story, I didn't even know I knew this story until I read it, because I had this image somehow in my head of basically what the scary part of this story is, and I've had it in my head since I was a child, and I don't know where it came from. Probably just the fact that he's ubiquitous and hidden throughout society, the influences of H.P. Lovecraft, because I had this idea of this cursed man living in a house by the seaside. 3 men break into his house while one stays outside in the getaway car. 2 of them never come back. He hears screams, then he sees the old man walking towards him. Boom, drives away. That has been in my head since I was a child, and when I read that story, I went, holy fuck, it came from him. And I had never read his stuff up to that point. So I don't know how it got in my head. Someone told me the story, or I saw it in another book, or a game, or a movie, who knows? But that's the effect that he has. He's in society. He's out there in the wild. And if you want to go right to the source, you might find that something you've thought of for a long time actually came from him, and you never even knew. He coined the term Lovecraftian horror. He's a lasting influence on our society, and he will probably still be remembered long past some of the stuff that's out today that's extremely popular. I'm sure he will outlive a lot of that. And so, as always, with classics, with what this channel is, with who I am, I always recommend classics, because classics are the ones that stick with you forever. And if something sticks around, well, there's usually a reason, and it's usually because it's worth listening to. So, unlike my thoughts on H.P. Lovecraft, which I did not even script, I am looking at a page of quotes and a list of videos of his I've recorded. So, anyway, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed this, put it in the comments, let me know. Maybe I'll do more videos just giving my thoughts about the stuff I read. Maybe I won't. You never know when it comes to this channel. You might get this, you might get that. You might get 3 uploads a week. You might get 1 every month. Sorry, I have a full-time job. Can't do it all the time. But yeah, thanks for listening. Don't know where to go with here. Lovecraft's good. Go read it. Bye.